in reality, it's like, okay, well, what would you really say to your neighbor that you wouldn't say to a stranger or someone that you're interviewing with for a job? Because that's what the viewer wants in order to make their decision with the money that maybe they really don't have, right? So they want to trust you, and so it's completely a vehicle for trust.
Backyard Fence is about building the trust, and also I think building a relationship. It's all about the relationship with myself and the customer. I think that's what I take pride on. If you've got a friendship and a relationship with the customer and trust, it's all about trust for me. Sometimes I'll even go on air and say, hey, you know what, this is a great sweater, this is terrific. This might fit you if you're this size, and it may not work for you. And so that to me is someone being honest. That's a friend telling you the truth about something. This will work for you and it may not work for you. And that to me is what Backyard Fence is all about, that relationship building.
I want them to be able to trust that what I say is true, give them the information that they need so that when it arrives at their door, they're not surprised or disappointed. And I take that very seriously because, you know, I have that personal experience of what it feels like when it's not that way.
So for me, Backyard Fence and my on-air cell is really all about creating and maintaining trust. I'm still relatively new. I've been here 3.5 years, so I haven't been here as long as Mary Beth or Jane, and I don't have a 20-year trust factor, but if I have honesty from the beginning and I can create and nurture that trust, that's really what Backyard Fence means to me.
Backyard Fence to me means that you are just carrying on a simple conversation with someone and thinking of them as your friend, as your neighbor. Of course, when it comes to sales, you're talking in terms of a product. So yes, of course, you're excited about it. But in doing that, you're addressing it in a manner that you're very passionate about, but without being overwhelming.
I think as hosts, there comes a time when we understand that we're not so much talking at the customer, we need to be talking to the customer. And once you transcend that barrier, once you begin to connect with the customer in a very personal way, they begin to trust you, they begin to believe in you, and the whole relationship becomes very, very positive.
Backyard Fence is the way I want to be sold to. It's the way I want to watch QVC. I think we've all had that experience where we walked into a store and someone has jumped up and said, hi, you know, let me spray with your perfume, or wow, look at this great deal we have on a car, and immediately our barriers go up. But when someone approaches us in a really friendly, hey, if you need any help, let me know, I'll be here for you, that makes all the difference in the world. So Backyard Fence is the way I want to watch QVC.
I try to picture my brother-in-law or my sister or my best friend across the table from me having a conversation, and I'm telling them about something really cool. That's all Backyard Fence is. It's being who you are all the time.
I think the biggest thing of taking the Backyard Fence mentality and applying it to what we do here on air is really take that genuine affection or feeling that you have for your neighbor when you share something and being true and genuine on air.
No one is going to shop at QVC if they don't trust us. Why would they? And so the way to build trust is to be approachable, is to be knowledgeable, is to be friendly, and hello, not annoying. And if I'm yelling and screaming about how great the price is or it's on Easy Pay, how is that endearing? How is that pulling somebody in? We all know that the future of QVC resides on whether or not we bring more people to the table to shop and new generations to the table to shop. And they're not going to put up with people that are pushy or a stereotype of an old-fashioned way to sell.
On air, I think it's all about building trust. So when you're genuine, when I'm talking to someone in my family or a friend, I'm talking to them, I'm not trying to sell them, I'm educating them, showing them things that I like, gaining their interest. And so I think that applies when the viewer is watching and they feel that you're being genuine and they can relate to what you're saying. Then again, that Backyard Fence equals trust.
It's really just about talking. And although they can't talk back, I always feel like with the Backyard Fence idea, it is about just talking to them, not talking at them.
There are several things I feel that get in the way of Backyard Fence when I'm on the air. First of all, a guest or a host that knows I have to make a certain number, and if I need to get to that goal, you have to hit the Easy Pay, you have to say this, you have to say that. All those have-tos get in the way of me looking at the camera and really relating to a customer. Because if we get her once by the hard sell, is she really going to want to come back? But if we pull her in and engage her and endear her to who we are, I think she'll come back.
One of the ways that I like to try and look at it is, okay, you see the internal clock go up, you know you don't have a full 8 minutes when you thought you did and maybe it's 5. You have 3 key points that you need to make with each product. Stick to those, be conversational, do your part, the host will do their part, and you know what? When you do that, it always does work out.
It's especially true at midnight, because midnight sets the tone for the day. And I know if I have a kickoff where I don't reach the goal, I go home kind of depressed and kind of sad and kind of beating myself up, like what could I have done? And even when I know there's nothing I could have done, it still leaves me with a bad feeling. So the goals do affect Backyard Fence adversely.
Oftentimes we're given so many numbers and so many metrics that it creates a pressure that sometimes feels overwhelming. I feel like the plate guy at the circus that's balancing all the plates, because I want to be your best friend and be your trusted advisor. And it's a delicate balance, and I do feel like sometimes, and especially on important event days, that gets lost.
You know you've got to hit those stories on the PAL, and you can't just hit them once. And then there's how many things have been ordered, and oh, by the way, we're a little under goal, so we better ramp it up if we're going to make goal for this hour. And so all of those things that create this sort of frenetic internal dialogue really, at least for me, ended up with me being like lecturing the customer, telling the customer, coming in with the hard sell. And when I realized that, like, I don't want to be talked to like that, so why would I assume that Susie sitting on her couch wants to be talked to like that? So when I started talking into the camera like I really was just talking to one of my sisters, I realized I still remember the stories, but I think it's a lot more fun to watch.
Well, the whole sales numbers isn't just pressure on the hosts, but certainly our guests are feeling that pressure from their vendors and their manufacturers because they have to deliver too. And because of that pressure, I feel oftentimes like the guests have an agenda, and their agenda may not always be in sync with getting to know that neighbor on the other side of the backyard fence.
Because I've been here for so long, I realize I can see over time how things have changed with the backyard fence concept. And there used to be a time where there wasn't as many guests and we were on air by ourselves, so we could really so much easier establish that relationship with the customer and just talk one-on-one. Now you've got the guests there, you've got so many demonstrations that you have to do. There's so many other elements like all the graphics and all of the videotape, and I mean there's so many things that keep you from really establishing that relationship with the customer one-on-one. And so I think sometimes that fence seemed like it's higher than it used to be. You have to kind of crawl over the fence a little bit more. I think the fact that the goals seem more stringent, I think everything's geared more towards your sales goals, your performa, versus, okay, let's just make QVC very watchable so that people can't turn away. They want to be watching. Now I think they tune in, they see a few minutes, and then they're gone again.
It's not just about the shopping. What really engages her is when I talk about something personal. So I think we need to take that lesson and take it to QVC. If I put up a posting that here's a great Easy Pay plan on a pair of boots, you know, maybe 100 likes. But if I say, look at this great pair of shoes I had on when I was in Savannah with my sisters and I walked all day, there's 500 likes. It's a big lesson to learn there on Backyard Fence, because to me, Facebook is the epitome of Backyard Fence.
Thank goodness for Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, because that's kind of how we're doing that relationship now. It's really an electronic relationship. So me posting the pictures of my family or what I'm doing on my days off or what I'm doing in behind the scenes actually establishes that relationship with the customer and builds that trust, maybe more so than even on air at this point, although I never want to lose that on-air relationship and that backyard fence trust that I've been trying to work on for 25 years.
In this multi-channel world we live in, I think sometimes it's easy, particularly with Facebook or Twitter, to turn that into a real marketing tool, letting the customer know when we're going to be on the air and what's the cool product we're going to have that day. And that's all a piece of it. But I think we need to be very careful that those messages don't start sounding like really strong solicitations or marketing tools, because I think that's a disconnect for the customer. They watch this fun, affable, great experience on the air, and they connect with hosts and guests and products, and they love watching it on TV. And then when they go to Facebook, they expect to see that same thing. And if those two things don't agree, then there's a real disconnect there. So I think we need to be very careful to make sure that both what we're doing on the air is mirrored in what we're doing in social media and on our other platforms, so that all around the customer has a very positive and very friendly experience.
So for me, it's much bigger than presenting products on QVC. It is really being their friend and really being able to be someone they trust.
I also like to think of the host and I as your own personal shopper, the viewer's personal shopper. We're going to give our opinions, we're going to ask their questions, we're going to educate them. So I think, again, you wouldn't be screaming like Crazy Eddie to someone that you're trying to educate and show them something. It's the same way. Just because the camera's on and you have a time frame doesn't mean you have to change any way about the way you would communicate naturally.
Backyard Fence for me isn't a one and done opportunity. I feel like it's what's going to push us forward to the future and continue to separate us out from any other brick and mortar retailer or online retailer.
It's about trust, and it's about friendship, and it's about a place where our viewers can come, and if they feel comfortable, you know, if you build it, they will come. If we build that backyard fence, they'll come spend time with us. And maybe they won't buy the first or second time, but if they like being there and they like what they're hearing and they like the people, whether it's hosts or guests, then they will eventually say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try, or I'm going to try something different, or I'm going to spend more time there.
I think as hosts, we're all very, very much aware of goals and how important those are to the business and how important those are to our personal performance. But I think there needs to come a time when we put less emphasis there and we really begin to just concentrate on going out and doing the best job we can each and every show. When you connect with those customers in a very real and personal way every single day, you begin to build the trust that help the numbers come. Maybe they don't come immediately today or this week or even this month, but you'll find over time when you build that trust incrementally, the numbers come and the trust is there and the benefit is obvious.
I think Backyard Fence probably has changed since we went on the air in the 80s, but it's still very alive and kicking, I think.